Howdy, folks. I'm stepping in for Buffalo Bill, who is putting together full production of his memoirs about his years on stage. In the meantime, to keep the momentum building, we provide a sketch of his thoughts on key people in his combination. In Buffalo Bill's words, "It's not uncommon to hear people refer to me as Wild rather than Buffalo Bill. That's because there was a Wild Bill Hickok, and both of us are iconic personalities of the Wild West. We not only knew each other, but we were friends, fellow scouts, and Wild Bill joined me on stage for one winter to perform Scouts of the Prairies. I met Wild Bill in my youth. I, still a boy of 12, and he was older by more than a decade. Wild Bill and I grew up on the plains together and were in the Mormon War, which took place in 1857, working for the government freighters who were hauling supplies for Albert Sidney Johnson's army, which had been sent against the Mormons. I was an extra hand on a wagon train. One of the wagoners insulted me and I threw a hot coffee at him. He was going to maul me. However, Wild Bill interceded in my defense and warned the wagoner that if he touched me, he would receive the thrashing of his life or worse. The angry wagoner stopped cold. Later, the train that we were with was burned by the Mormons on Ham's Fork, about 100 miles east of Salt Lake City. After the burning of our train, we returned to the Missouri River, a distance of 1,000 miles. We walked and, being armed, killed game and by strategic instincts avoided danger. Wild Bill was my mentor. We both rode for the Pony Express during its short existence. We both fought, scouted, and spied for the Union during the Civil War. In October of 1864, Wild Bill and I met in the middle of a Confederate invasion of Missouri. I was a trooper with the 7th Kansas Cavalry, while Wild Bill was spying for his Union commander. I was working in rebel territory. I wandered into a farmhouse dressed as a rebel. Lo and behold, Wild Bill was sitting at a table dressed as a Confederate officer, greeted me, and invited me to join him for lunch. I was shocked, but managed to accept his invitation. We ate, then exchanged information, and I returned to my unit with valuable intelligence. Wild Bill was as cool in this situation as ice. Wild Bill and I scouted for the U.S. Cavalry during the Indian Wars. Wild Bill served General Custer as scout, but obviously he was not involved during the campaign which saw General Custer and his troops annihilated at Little Bighorn. We were both crack shots. I favored the rifle, but being constantly on guard in saloon, Wild Bill favored pistols and became a gunfighter. As you well know, Wyatt Earp gained legendary status through the gunfight at the OK Corral. My first scalp for Custer gained me national attention. Wild Bill Hickok's iconic status is rooted in a shootout in July 1861 in what came to be known as the McCandless Massacre in Rock Creek, Nebraska. The incident began when David McCandless, his brother William, and several farmhands came to the station demanding payment for a property that had been bought from him. Hickok, just a stable hand at the time, killed the 3 men despite being severely injured. By the time the story made it into Harper's Magazine, he had killed 10 men. Wild Bill circled in violence-riven areas in cow and later in mining towns where he participated in liberating cowboys and miners from their money in card games. Gambling brought with it disaffected individuals who resorted to gunplay and confronted Wild Bill only once. In confrontations with Wild Bill, they normally died with their boots on. He began his involvement with law enforcement. Along with that, attempts came on his life. Several men died or were wounded in these attempts, and believe it or not, including a Medal of Honor awardee who fought at the Battle of Summit Creek along with me. Wild Bill made it almost a trademark to pay for their funerals. His expertise in gunplay and reputation caught the attention and interest of Abilene politicians and the public. Wild Bill was hired to be marshal. He, an expert handler of the gun, acting as the only appellate court to deal swift and deadly justice. Abilene was notorious for bad actors. It served as the end of the trail for cattle drives from Texas. Along with delivery of the herds of cattle, Abilene frequently experienced an influx of cowboys who had just been paid. They itched for entertainment, drink, and to let off steam, which too often led to violence. And, drifting towards that quarter, all kinds of adventurers and vicious men from the older sections of our country evading justice, and who thought it a field to let loose the passions in every way, having no legitimate occupation, added to the difficulty. They included gamblers, thieves, prostitutes, and others too willing to help cowboys part with their hard-earned money, asking, "Law? What law?" Wild Bill played a substantial but controversial role in reducing violence through violence. His stint as marshal lasted 1 year. He was dismissed as a consequence of a gunfight in which he not only shot the bad guy, he accidentally shot and killed his deputy, an act he regretted for the rest of his life. He tried to start his own stage combination, but it failed and he lost his investment. Short of money and with nowhere to go, he agreed to join my combination, where he too, like myself and Texas Jack, essentially played himself. Because of his fearsome reputation, it was natural that he gained much attention and attracted huge audiences. Our life as a combination required almost ceaseless movement from town to town and tested our perseverance. Bill at first became bored. Soon afterwards, he acted to relieve his boredom in the way he best knew how, with his weapons. When our act required dispatching our stage Indians, usually at least twice in one performance, we shot blanks which spit out projectiles. Well, Wild Bill decided to demonstrate his accuracy by shooting between the legs of our hapless Indians, who were often hit by the ricochet of the projectiles. These hurt. We were able to talk Wild Bill out of that habit for a time. Boredom still got to him, and he once again resorted to his weapons, once again hurting some of our actors. By that time, he and we decided that the stage and acting were just not going to work for Wild Bill. Then he got angry. He stalked off the stage, and I later followed him to his hotel. We amicably parted company. Gave him a bonus. He departed, wandering and gambling from town to town. I never saw him again. Wild Bill eventually ended up in Deadwood, regularly playing in card games until one day a drunk miner came up from behind and shot him in the head, killing him instantly. The assailant was eventually hanged after being tried twice, once locally, acquitted. Later, declared an invalid trial, and a second time tried by the feds, found guilty and sentenced to death. So, as you can see, our paths crossed. We were friends. We worked together in the employ of the Union Army, on the plains and on stage. We both gained fame for intersecting, but also hugely different reasons. His legacy imprinted in my mind and that of the public. I had Deadwood imprinted on my mind. Until next time, happy trails.